going back to Sunita's first project that we earlier mentioned, the office at Kala Chowki in Parel, Mumbai. So this was an old industrial shed where she wanted her office. And one of the things she said was she wanted the office to blend in into the surroundings. Um, just quickly showing you a glimpse of this. And really, as we started, this is the outside of the office that is currently on the screen. And as we started, the brief was very well fleshed out because there was an architect to begin with, as I'd mentioned earlier. So when we started, we had a brief in hand, but what we needed to do was understand really what was the underlying brief. The functional brief was in front of us. We needed to understand what is it that we needed to achieve in terms of the way the space felt, and what are the other needs of the space other than the functional needs. One great need was that she was very clear that the space needed to blend into the surroundings. She was in an industrial setting. It was a curious mix of both industries as well as older residences, and she wanted to very much blend in. And this office, when you walk to it even today, you can't tell where it is. It's so discreet from the outside. Very curiously, there are several times when we've added and subtracted from this office starting from 1996. The first time we built was after the fire in the riots of the 1990s. So it was after a fire. And quite recently, we redid this office post another fire that the office had unfortunately had 4 or 5 years ago. So this was the first time, and that's the outer facade. And this is how we had visualized the space, scooping out, retaining its very industrial context from outside, retaining the overall shed from inside, but completely building within, drawing in daylight. This is in 1996, so quite contemporary for its time, using the warmth of colors, very interesting. Detailing that borrows both from its industrial context, as also the fact that Sunita dealt with a lot of global clients. There were a lot of people from Europe that would visit the space, and therefore the need for this space to appear very, very global and contemporary for its time. Just some initial sketches that we had drawn during the first time. The sun wash spaces. So though it was a shed with very few openings, in fact, almost no openings to the outside, it became necessary to draw light from the roof to wash the office spaces with light. This is a staircase that connected the ground from the upper mezzanine floor. And this is a view from the earlier cafeteria looking down into the space. And just some few more images. The cafeteria that we had built in 1996. So it was interesting in a way going back to the same space in 2016 after the second fire, where the whole center and the heart of the shed that we showed you earlier was gutted down by the second fire. So it was with our years of association with Synergy, Sunita's office, was an emotional one for us. What we decided in a way to do was this time round bring the staircase in the space where the fire had started, and started to put together what we required in terms of areas. Where would Sunita sit, which was an important factor in coming up with both the brief and the space planning. Where the cafe would go. The earlier cafe was located here. If you can see my cursor move,
Yeah.
That is where the old cafe was, but we decided to remove it and tuck it in at the back under the mezzanine, and just celebrate the courtyard with all its functional spaces swirling around it.
Okay. So where did Sunita's office actually go? Like, and how does it sit within the space?
That's Sunita's office. Sunita as a personality is very much in the know of how her office runs, and she needed a space that she could retreat into. So here it is up at the mezzanine level, but she also has this little contemporary Juliet balcony that she can walk
Hmm.
out into, stand here, and from here in a way she is instantly connected with the rest of the office. So
Okay.
yeah, that's where we placed her
Okay.
quite intuitively. We thought it'll work well for her.
I think I'm heading towards one of my final questions now. So, how do you think the process of developing the brief with Sunita Namjoshi or Sneha IP of women clients, how is it different from developing it with commercial giants like Ambatur or Mahindra and Mahindra?
So, if we start with, let's take Synergy, which is Sunita, and Ambatur, which is Viju Metani.
Okay.
Uh, Actually, from a business point of view, they both come from the textile industry. One is for home furnishings, which is Synergy, and Ambatur again has international clientele and does clothing for international brands. So, in terms of both as individuals are very, very strong personalities. And even though their setups of businesses may follow a hierarchy, they play a very, very important role in dictating what they'd like their spaces to be. So they both are visionaries and leaders. And in both their cases, I think leap of faith played a very important role to be able to develop the prototypes. So for whatever we've heard on Synergy, I think we've got a gist of what Sunita demands out of her business and her space. And when it came to Viju Mehtani, the Ambatur clothing building that we did in Ambatur in Chennai, um, again, that did not come with a very clear brief. It was not Viju Mehtani who actually asked for spaces that would be in the midst of open terraces and gardens within office. That was not the brief that came to us. That was after interacting with each of the departments that felt like could be one of the ways to try and give them a space which at the end of this whole project, when they finished this off, the one thing that we heard from most of the top level executives, the input that, so here again, the cafe is on the top level and the cafe kind of opens up into a garden. These are mid-level. On the picture on the right is the first floor. From to the left of this picture, you have the whole staircase. This picture is of the cafe that extends into a garden outside. And the previous pictures that we saw are actually in the heart of, like this one is where the actual workspaces happen, and they're again relief spaces. Now, these were not a part of what the brief asked for, and these were an outcome of climatic requirements, bylaw requirements, and pockets of pause spaces that one wanted to give back to this building. The building actually has a receding layout. This wall is on the south, and this wall actually shrouds from the harsh south sun of Chennai. And every level, if you see, it recedes back, and that's how the terraces get formed.
Okay.
So that's what does in general. And the lower two terraces that you see are where meeting rooms actually open up into those terraces. And the response we got after this building was done was most of their meetings were actually taken out in the open rather than being in the closed door spaces, air conditioned spaces. Of course, they could smoke outside as well, which also was one of the other reasons that they enjoyed being in the outdoors, I guess. So again, so what with a client like Viju Mehtani, what we've realized is, because we're doing right now another apartment building for him in Chennai, which we're just handing over this week. And flexibility plays a very important role, because though they are very strong-headed personalities, their thoughts and ideas change quite a bit, and they also do that with their businesses. If something is not working for them in the business, they move it rather quickly in terms of changing strategies for what needs to be made to work. So at the same time, spaces also need to be as flexible as possible to be able to give them the outcome of their business model actually, because they're not stagnant, and they're not kind of the same thing that goes on. It's again the international fashion market that decides a lot of their businesses, so things are changing constantly. Yeah, so being gender, I don't think really matters, whether it is the women clients or male clients. But one big difference that we have with the women clients, especially with Sunita, was that any other sites, if we are on an outstation site, we may go without food the whole day because we are in the midst of a site meeting. With any site that was to do with Sunita or most of the other women, we would definitely break for loo breaks as well as for snacks and lunches. Even if you don't have lunch, there would be at least banana on the table and we'd be fed. So that's one difference that you see. But other than that, in terms of brief development, most of these people are business people, and they're pretty much articulated in the way they work. So they're very clear in terms of the approach. So I don't see gender comes in the way of clarity on brief or clarity on program, because their business really dictates that when it comes to at least commercial spaces.
Okay,
I think
that's
99% of the way, I mean, it's absolutely correct, because I mean, the function that the client comes to us with plays a huge role in brief development. But there is that slight humane angle that some personalities come with, like Sunita in the case of in most of her projects, or I feel. It could be a man or a woman, but sometimes the brief asks for and mandates that the spaces be made, I mean, very, very humane. So for example, like Sarika explained, the presence of terraces in this particular office emerged from the available FSI, and with us applying climatic principles to make sure that each lots of sunlight, had lots of open spaces that people could go out into. But at least in the case of Sunita's projects, in a way, that comes as part of the brief, that
okay.
the space is mandated to have humane spaces.
Okay.
I'm, I'm guessing that the rest expect that will happen, but with hers, it's just voiced very clearly, is what I feel, Sarika.
I think the others, yeah, come to us because of that USP, and they know come what may, we will kind of bring that flavor into the building, because that's what our DNA really dictates when it comes to design. I think what Vaishali is trying to say is that it may not come as a mandate to them, but they know at the end of it, they are going to get a product which is going to be completely humane, and allows for connectedness with the outdoors and the indoors.
I
I
have
think
lots to
maybe
think about.
women tend to be a bit more vocal about the nurturing aspects of a human being's personality. Um, but
Okay,
definitely, nurturing does come more easily, perhaps, to
okay,
women than it does to men, and
okay.
which maybe slightly reflects in the way briefs are put forth to us.
And I think that brings me to my last question. I would like to end by asking, what is your favorite light bulb moment in the process of interacting with any of your clients?
So, in the case of Sunita, we actually asked Shimul this question because all of us had our own take. We've had many years of association with her in particular. And we asked Shimul this question, and the immediate response was that during her first site meeting with Sunita in 1996, one of the things that she said was, in a way, one of the things that we mentioned earlier, that her uh, office was located in an industrial environment, and that she definitely wanted to blend in. Um, so the need for this, I mean, she very much ran a corporate organization, but the need for her to say that she wanted to blend in very gently into the environment is something that really stood out for Shimon.